Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Today promises to be a very interesting, enlightening, and insightful session. My name is Bukolua Arijesuyo. I'm the Public Relations Manager for Diary.io. And once again, you're welcome. Please, if you can hear me, I would like you to just give a thumbs up in the comment section. If you can hear me, so I can be sure that you can hear me, please give a thumbs up in the comment section. I would appreciate that. Hello, Juliana. It's nice to have you here. You're welcome. I would like for more people to please give a comment. If you can hear me, you can just drop a hello or a thumbs up, and then we can proceed. Hello, Goshen. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for the thumbs up. Waiting for more people to give a thumbs up so that we can start in full. Hello, Maoli. You're welcome. So we're just going to give like a few more minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes for more people to join in, 2-3 minutes to have more thumbs up so we can start in full. So please, if you can hear me, kindly drop a thumbs up or any emoji of your choice would actually do. Thank you, Felix. Thank you very much. About a minute more and then we'll kickstart this webinar in full. One more thumbs up, people. One more thumbs up, and then we start. One more thumbs up. We want to be sure that we have enough people starting with us so you don't get to miss anything. So one more thumbs up and we can go ahead. So if you can hear me, please drop a thumbs up. Thank you, Maria. Okay, once again, welcome everyone to today's webinar. If you're looking to start a career in tech, I can tell you that you're at the right place at the right time, and you will be listening to our speakers today. I want to encourage you to jot down your questions. As many questions as you have will be listened to and answered by our speakers. So please jot down your questions. We would have all the speakers first before we take the question and the answer segment. So please, if a speaker speaks and you have a question, please write it down. After all the speakers have spoken, then you get to ask your questions. Okay, straight to the order of the day. We will be starting today with an introduction to cybersecurity and then the career benefits in cybersecurity. And taking that today is Arinze Eguzozie, who is the team lead for cybersecurity in IT Horizons Group. Arinze is a certified security architect from Cisco, is a certified security specialist from Cisco, and is a certified architect from Sophos. So please join me in welcoming Arinze Eguzozie. Hello, Arinze.
Hi,
It's nice
hi.
to have you here.
Yeah, nice to be here. Nice to be here. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, so let's get straight to it. So, hello everybody. My name is Arinze, as said, and I'm gonna just be taking you through. And when you're on this slide talking about wanting to start your tech career in cybersecurity, it is the ultimate pathway, as they say. So, you want to come in and then you're looking at what to do, you're looking at what to expect, you're looking at what to have on your mind to say, hey, this is the part where I want to take, and why should I go here? What should I expect as I move through, and how difficult is it going to be? How beneficial is it going to be for me? Right, I'm going to walk you through, and yeah, let's just go right into it. So, what is cybersecurity? We're going to talk about, why choosing cybersecurity. We're going to talk about the common rules, the characteristics, and then how it's going to be perceived beyond and how it is perceived right now, right? So, cybersecurity at a glance, what is it basically, right? It's the practice of safeguarding computer systems, right? Networks, devices, data streams, transits, as the case may be. So far as you have anything that is of importance to you, the idea is you should be able to safeguard it and give it security postures. So yeah, determining the weak points, determining the strengths, and knowing how to harden it against people that you have in the outside world, criminals, rogue agents, or bad actors, as the case may be. That it's the art and skill and mastery of what cybersecurity is all about. So, yeah, you'll be asking yourself, why should you pick cybersecurity, right? The truth of the matter is, as technology increases, right, as the need, right, for technology increases, there are more people in the world who use technology and who use, data, because data is the most valuable asset in the world, right? You would say this is essential. So this is being common and is increasing, definitely the vulnerabilities or the loopholes within it are also increasing. So yeah, it's very, very, very needed. And in recent years, the attacks keep on increasing and increasing and increasing. You hear about the WannaCry, you hear about the clickjacking, you hear about SolarWinds SQL injection and more like that, right? Stuff like that. You always think about it that, oh, these things happen and they had effect on human beings. How do we go about them? Now, for the fact that we're human beings, we're prone to vulnerabilities, right? Vulnerabilities, they make us humans. Like, it makes us human, but being able to go about them, being able to mitigate and, you know, being able to rectify the situation makes us super, right? Then protecting sensitive data, of course, ensuring the confidentiality, the integrity. We're going to talk about something called the CIA triad later in the slide, and it will be like my first little lesson to you, right? And yeah, so far as these things are concerned, that should be the reason why you should want to do cybersecurity, because it's going to intrigue you and you want to know, definitely dig more into it. So yeah, just to talk about a recent trend. These are attacks that you can see highlighted on this table. There are different type of attacks that have occurred over the years, and then for businesses to be successful, successful, IT teams what's happening? Yeah, IT teams are stretched thin, and then the attacks, they happen randomly. So you see different types of attacks. See how, right, the increase is in the type of attack. You see data breaches, malicious code, and on and on and on. Right? It goes on and on. It's just that it gives you a view of what or how cybersecurity has a deep dive or a deep root into everything that we do. So yeah, these are countries, and you see the effect of how which uh, the organizations are falling victim to attacks. You see the percentage for different countries, and it also raises an alarm to say, hey, these things really happen in real life, and because of someone like you and I, we have the power to stop them. Okay, uh, just to take you through, 40% of IT decision makers believe that cyber threats will highly affect their organization performance in 2024. In 2023, the highest number of breaches occurred from phishing, and 2.5 billion US dollars have been lost for citizens due to cybercrime. Can you imagine that? All right. 11.6% of business leaders admitted they fell victim to cyber attacks more than once in 12 months. So which means in a year they have fallen victim to several types of attacks, right? So with all this, What does it tell you? It means the people who are actually the specialists, the cybersecurity analysts who are actually conducting these things to ensure that these postures or these environments are safe, they are scarce. There is a shortage, especially if you're in this country and you know about the Japa syndrome. You know that there are not too many specialists um, or technicians that can handle the situation, right? And then the cyber threats are increasing. There's digital formation, and then there are new technologies that come up every day. The clients see these things. Clients are organizations or people who have that piece of data that they want to protect, and then immediately they know that there's money to spend, right? So they see it, and immediately they dive into it. So I can tell you for a fact that there's a lot of money in cybersecurity to be made based on the skill sets. And yeah, just like Uncle Sam says, right? The cybersecurity space is brimming. People need you. Okay. So what roles are you going to be in for? There are several types of roles. You can see penetration testers, ethical hackers, and the average salary is about 97,000 US dollars on an average a year. Information security analyst or SOC analyst, about 98 grand a year. Network security engineer, about 125 grand, and network security architects, about 175 grand. So, I mean, it cannot be overshot on how this thing is so beneficial to the users. So moving on, okay, there's the sales engineers. Their average salary is about 157 grand. Application security engineers salary of about 117 grand. So yeah, can be overshot, and overemphasized. Then when you get to the top of the ladder, right, you can go for higher positions like the chief information security officer. They earn up to 256,000 grand, $1,000 a year on an average, and that's when you get to the chain. So yeah, it's high paying. Now, what is expected of you, right? There's so many things that are expected. You have to have cyber integrity. You have to know how to manage your stakeholders. You have to have dedication and knowledge diversity, openness to technological evolution, technological enthusiasm, and then what you're going to expect while going through them. You're going to encounter several different models or several different aspects, operating systems, the concepts, network and interconnectivity. You get to know about cyber ops, right? And system ops in the cycle. You're going to learn about something called AAA. You're going to learn about the CIA triad. You're going to learn about IAM, right? Identity access management, and more, right? It's cybersecurity is so diverse that you really cannot cover all the edges, but then you're going to specify and triangulate yourself into one particular aspect and become an expert with that. The CIA triad, basically, every piece of information, and especially to information security, data should always be confidential. It should have good integrity and it should be available. Now, the truth, I don't want to go to I don't want to stress or take so much time to explain this, but the concept is each aspect of these side triangle sides increases with the need for the other. So wherever there is a need for increased confidentiality, the integrity also increases as well. Likewise, how available it should be to the user or the public. That's the general summary. And when we get talking more about these things, you see them more in depth. There's so many aspects which you would dive in when you pursue a career in cybersecurity. This cryptography, the act of encodement and decipherment, SOC or security operations, compliance and governance, network security, penetration testing, end user endpoint security, incident response and forensics, cloud security, and more. So we know how is this going to be beneficial, you know, in the years to come. I mean, it's something that is hot right now. How's it going to be? Like I said, so far as there is value that needs to be protected, right? You should understand that cybersecurity or the way of which it's going to be protected would always be considered. Expansion of IoT, advanced technologies everywhere. The skill gap that we talked about, the scarceness, a new technological concept called quantum computing has just come about, right? That is something that we'll have to look about in years to come. Then the regulatory government bodies, right, like GDPR, government saying, hey, data should be this, data should be that, and data should be protected in this way and that way. So, and then of course the remote workforce, which we've been put into in these days and time, cloud security, cloud being everywhere and accessible every time, every day. Security also should be employed. By the way, your on-premise and your cloud are two separate places, but with the same concept. So anything you do on-premise, you should do on cloud as well. Then, of course, the critical infrastructure protection. And basically, that's like a brief run through, right, on the cybersecurity tech pathway. Ibukun?
You for that insightful and short session. I'm sure that those who have interest in cybersecurity are noting down their questions. After all the speakers have spoken, you would get to ask your question. So thank you very much, Arinze. So without further ado, we would move on to the next speaker for today, and that is Tosin Ilesomi, who is the data analyst at Deloitte. Tosin is an Azure Microsoft Power BI data analyst. He's also an Azure certified data engineer and has a nano degree for data analytics from Udacity. So join me today to welcome Tosin Ilesomi to the stage. Okay, apologies. I think Tosin's having network issues. Okay, I can see some questions here already. Okay, I can see some questions here already. We will take the questions after all the speakers have spoken. Like I said, let's try to let's take a minute to wait for Tosin. He seems to be having network issues. Okay, Tosin's here now. Hi, Tosin, can you hear me? Okay, so while Tosin sorts out his okay, Tosin, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you good to go?
Yeah, just give me a second. I'll need to share my screen in a minute.
All right, please.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right.
Just give me a minute, please.
Okay. So someone is asking here, can you tell what each type of IT field requires as I'm having difficulty in my field? Okay. All right. That question is noted. We will be addressing that when the speakers are done. So are we good to go now? Tosin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So I'm presenting my screen right now.
Okay.
So you should be able to see. Um, yes, so you should be able to share my screen in a minute.
Okay.
I can hear you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you, but I think we have a feedback issue. So, while we sort out Twis's network, I think we'll just move on to the next speaker. So we'll be moving on to the next speaker because of network issues that Twisin is experiencing right now. And this speaker will be talking about DevOps. So if your interest is in DevOps, please pay keen attention. Join me to welcome Dare Olufumilayo. Dare Olufumilayo is an AWS certified professional. He's a certified big data engineer out there. He's a certified Kubernetes administrator. He's a software engineer, and he's also the founder and CEO of Dare.io. Please join me, guys, to welcome Dare Olufumilayo on stage. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? We can't hear you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we
Can you
can
hear
hear
me?
you now.
Oh, brilliant. I literally just put on my microphone, so I thought you guys were hearing me before. But I'm excited to be here right now to talk about DevOps. I mean, this is what I've been doing for so long. And my journey into tech is, I like to call it accidental, because I didn't start out as a tech engineer, so in the journey of life where you're trying to choose your career, you just stumble on things, and DevOps is just one of those things that I stumbled on. I obviously started with other areas like data analysis. I did some work around Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, and all that before I eventually focused a lot of my attention on the cloud. So today I am going to be talking about DevOps, so that if you're trying to make a decision, a career decision, you can choose between cybersecurity, data analysis, and DevOps. There are plenty other tech areas that you can choose from as well. But learning these skills can actually open you up to many other things that we're going to be talking about as well in the course of today's webinar. And apologies that Tosi has not been able to get on the call earlier on to talk about the data analysis side of things. I'm hoping that by the time we're done with this part of the slide, then he would have been able to get started out. Now, I was supposed to come last, so there's a lot of gifts, something that we had prepared for people who joined this webinar, which was supposed to come alongside with my last presentation. So what I'm going to do is, once I get to a certain part of this slide, I'll just stop so that we can get Tosin back, and he will do the presentation around the data analysis, and then we'll come back again to talk about the amazing things that we have prepared. So please make sure you stay to the end of the webinar. And yeah, if you have any questions, make sure you put in the chat section so that we can capture all the questions. And in the end, we can go through all the questions and answer them. And hopefully we'll be able to help you make your career decision today. All right, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do is to expand the slide. And first of all, if you want to become a DevOps engineer, this is where you should be, okay? This webinar is where you should be. Dare.io is where you should be. And I'm not saying that because we're offering training services, is actually because this career, whether it's DevOps, cybersecurity, data analysis, companies that want to hire people out there today, especially if you don't have experience, they always ask for experience. And the question is like, how are you even going to start a job, okay, where you never had experience? You're probably just switching careers, just graduated from school, and you don't have any experience at all. So the question is, how do you get your first job when you've never had the opportunity to work as an IT person? So our platform solves that problem for you, whereby you're able to acquire the kind of experience that companies are asking for, and then you will be able to build a portfolio that will convince a potential recruiter to hire you and put you on their production systems. Okay. So the agenda we're just going to talk about what exactly DevOps is, what is so special about becoming a DevOps engineer, and how can you get started. So let's take a minute to talk about what is DevOps. In simple terms, DevOps is a set of practices that combines software development and IT operations together to enable fast and more reliable software delivery. So it's very, very self-explanatory. Let me put it that way, because first of all, the term DevOps means dev and ops coined together. So some two guys, I think around 2009, actually came together in was it somewhere in Europe? I think Belgium or somewhere. They came together, had a conference, and literally, based on the pain in the industry, they came together and thought, you know what? We need to bring dev and ops together, because there are challenges that is causing businesses a lot of issues when it comes to releasing software. And it takes a lot of effort to bring collaboration between these two separate teams together. So if we have some principles or practices that allows these two teams that are always at loggerheads to bring them together, then we may have something that we can begin to see as a new career or a new practice that will ultimately benefit the organization at large. So it's like having a team of people who work together to build and deliver software in the best way possible. So the goal is one thing: release software fast, in a speedy manner, and ensure that it is highly secure and reliable. Okay, so the good thing with this is whether you choose to go cybersecurity or data analysis or DevOps, learning these skills always play a part in your entire career journey. Okay, now those practices that we're talking about, they are formed based on certain principles. So you will hear terminologies like continuous integration, continuous delivery, infrastructure as code, monitoring and logging, collaboration, and communications. When you hear these things, you hear things around the whole concept around DevOps, okay? Because we want to release software speedily, then we need to be able to deliver continuously. And that's where the terminology continuous integration comes in. Continuous delivery, being able to deliver continuously, that is exactly what we're talking about here. So if you go to think about Facebook, I believe we all use Facebook. And for those who know when Facebook actually launched their website, you can imagine it is not exactly what it was then that it is today, right? I still remember the first design that website had at the time. You know, of course, when you're in the technology industry, things don't remain the same. It is the fastest changing industry in the entire world, because things change every single day, every single day. And that's because the need of the customers always change. The customer will want something. If you don't provide it, your competitors will come in and they will provide that thing. And the next thing you know, as a business, you're going down because you're not able to serve your customers as quickly as possible. So DevOps is that set of practices that enables businesses to release software quickly, fast, quality software with a lot of security embedded into it, and in a way that customers are always happy, right? And it has to be done fast. But once it's done, if you notice this logo right here, this logo here, it's like a loop. It has to be done in a certain manner. So you don't just go about saying, oh, I want to build a software, or I want to release a website, and then you just get a server and just dump it right there. It has to go through certain processes. So you have to go through planning, and then development of the code, building of the code itself, testing it, releasing the software that is being built into some environment, deploying it into the environment, and then operating it. But you need feedback as well, because once the software is released and people have started consuming it, then we need feedback to really understand exactly what the customers want. Because you can release a software today, giving them certain functionalities, but the question is that exactly what the customers want? So if we are not able to iterate very fast, we'll find out that it's hard for us to understand specifically what the customers want. And if your competitor is able to get that in a faster manner, again, you're going to lose your customers to them. So we want to get that feedback very quickly. And that's where we have to always monitor and then go back through the process again. So we monitor, we capture feedback quickly, and then we go back to plan. And based on the new requirements, we're able to code and build and test and do all that. And that cycle continues. And that's where the whole concept around continuous integration, continuous delivery comes in. Okay. Now, in the course of doing all of this, you have to learn tools. And that's where the career comes in. So learning all sorts of tools is where your skill comes in. For example, you have to learn how to work on Linux servers. Most companies use Linux operating system to host their application. So if you're going to be working as a DevOps engineer and you don't know how to operate the Linux operating system, then obviously it's going to be hard for you to then do the job, right? So you have to learn the tools that makes the whole continuous integration, continuous delivery, and all of that work. So you hear things like Linux, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, AWS Cloud, Azure. All these different tools come to play when you're working in the industry, okay? And this is where your learning has to come about. Now, learning this set of tools with focus on its inclusive nature means collaboration and communication. So bringing the dev and the ops teams together facilitates collaboration and communication, which is at the heart of DevOps. Now, I'm not going to read all these things on the screen for you, but it's just to set some perspective to know that when you learn the tools and you are on a journey to becoming a DevOps engineer, there are different roles that you can apply for. So you hear things like DevOps engineer, cloud engineer, site reliability engineer. There are many other ones: cloud architect, solutions architect, SRE manager or lead, principal DevOps engineer. There is many of them that you can see on the screen that you can begin to branch out into. And that's the fun thing about this. Once you start learning these tools, you begin to position yourself for many other things that your career will provide. Okay, so what's so special about becoming a DevOps engineer? Okay, I mean, you know what it is now. Well, what is so special about it? First of all, it comes with a sense of fulfillment. Okay, just being able to have this that you're helping a business solve huge problems. Okay, businesses lose customers all the time to their competitors, and if you're able to come in and deliver a solution that will help them keep their customers, then it gives you a sense of fulfillment. I mean, for me, I feel that way, especially when the companies I work for, when they say, "Hey, Dari, what you did, oh, so amazing! You and your team, we love it. We're able to release our software very fast now. It's highly secure and reliable, and it can auto scale and all those sort of things." Okay. Then remote working opportunities. So COVID came and changed a lot of things. So now there's a new culture where companies are actually able to hire people remotely, and they're able to work from the comfort of their home. And DevOps, cybersecurity, data analysis, these sort of careers enables that. You know, it's not one of those jobs where you must be at the office to do. Okay, so that's one thing you can look forward to once you begin your journey. It's a recession-proof career, obviously, because even in recession, businesses want to make sure that they are always making money. They're always able to sustain their business. And one thing you should always think about when you're choosing your career is this career directly making money for my business? Or is it directly saving my organization from spending a lot? If the answer to that is yes, then you are in a better career, because in recession, even if everyone is losing their jobs, the chances that you're going to lose your job is very slim, right? And that's one of the great things that this creates for you. And then the obvious one is high pay. I can't stress this enough. The other speaker talked about how much salaries the cybersecurity engineers earn, and it's not different for DevOps as well, because you see people earning $150,000 a year, $200,000 a year, and that's not a lie. We can go to Google, YouTube. I just type in DevOps engineer salaries, average salary, and you'll be surprised what you find. Even entry roles, you may find yourself doing like a 70, 80K a year for an entry level role, which is very attractive. By the time you build more experience, after 1 or 2 years, you find yourself, earning a lot more. So there are challenges, obviously. So it's not a get rich quick scheme. Let me put it that way, right? There are challenges. I just want to quickly make sure that I highlight those for you as well. So one of the things that you would notice is there's information overload when you get started, and it's normal. Okay, so just make sure that you avoid trying to learn everything at once. So take it one step at a time. Go through a standard process, and you'll be fine. Okay. Now you may not have any technical background, so you may feel like, well, I never did computer science in school. I don't have any background in tech. Well, that's a challenge in itself, and it's not a showstopper. So all you have to do is embrace project-based learning, because this is about doing. It's not about just watching videos or just listening to someone teach you. Those are important, but what's most important is you being able to get your hands dirty implementing projects. Overwhelming technology landscape. I mean, there's a whole lot of things going on right now. Generative AI is there, Chat GPT, and all those different things coming at you. Well, you just have to focus on the principles and the technologies, and just take it one step at a time. Okay, complex infrastructure and cloud concepts. Again, you just have to start small, because it builds up. Okay, balancing learning and other life commitments. That's normal. You may have family, other 9 to 5 while you're trying to learn, and all of that going on in your life. You just need to find motivation. So to some people, it is the end goal of earning a lot of money. To some people, it's just being able to work remotely. Whatever it is, find a motivation and just keep reminding yourself about it, and then you develop discipline. Imposter syndrome is another thing. At some point, you feel like you're not learning a lot. You may feel like, well, I'm not good enough, because maybe you heard someone talking and you feel like they know more than you, especially if you start at the same time. Look, do not allow those things to bother you, because you'll be surprised. Once you learn in 6 months, for example, put your CV out there, start going for interviews, start getting quick feedback, you realize that you actually know more than you actually think you do. Okay, so the Dire.io advantage. Let me just quickly highlight this here. There's a whole lot of things, but I'll come back to talk about this. I'll let Tosin go ahead and talk about the data analysis side of things before we then come back to talk about the Dire.io advantage and how you can take your career to the next level and the gift that we have for you. All right. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll be right back.
So once again, if you have questions about DevOps, you can drop it in the chat. Once the speakers are done, we'll take all the questions. So join me once again to welcome Tosin. Unfortunately, his network had issues the other time, but I'm going to introduce him again. So Tosin is a data analyst at Deloitte. He has a nano degree for data analytics from Udacity. He's an Azure certified Microsoft Power BI data analyst, and is also an Azure certified data engineer. So join me, guys, to welcome Tosin. Hello,
Thank you
Tosin.
very
Good to
much.
have you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibukun. Apologies once again for the network. We're all aware of the major undersea cable that got cut off, and entire West Africa has been running bunkers for like a day or two. So, thanks for your understanding. Okay, so I'm glad to have us all on this call, and I'm glad to show us and guide us to explore the dynamic world of data analytics. And I'll start with explaining a couple of things on my journey. I remember 2019 when I had this friend who was always saying, data, data, data is my mentor and my friend. And I kept wondering, what's this data? I like it didn't just add up to me, right? But 4 years down the line, I've seen a lot of transformations. I've seen a lot of things that have come out of it, and I've seen the way it has even benefited me professionally, because I would say I was a tech wanderer, right? I started from CCNA, that's networking, to information security. I know some of us are like that. We've tried all the different parts of tech. You've tried programming, it didn't work. You've tried say maybe networking, it didn't work. You've tried, and now you're just okay. What exactly? But I can tell you, data analytics is really the place to be, and I want you to join me on that journey. The first question is, what is data analytics, and how important is it? And I'll start by saying this: data is as important as the breath you breathe, right? Like, it is literally guiding your everyday life. And I'm not going to start by talking about the Google, Microsoft, and some of the big firms that we know. I'm just going to talk about you, right? So, have you ever asked yourself why you literally have to scoop through comment sessions on, say, on different Instagram vendors before you purchase any products, right? You probably have to read reviews online. You probably have to check through comment section, ask questions from people before you purchase that product. Or have you even sat down to wonder, for some of us that like going to the cinemas, before you probably watch a movie, you must be sure that that movie is very interesting. You've asked, okay, this movie is interesting. This movie is interesting. Or probably that new shop in town that is, having nice stores. Some people are early goers, they want to test. While some people will ask, okay, that shop, is it actually nice? Do they sell nice clothes? So primarily, everyone uses data to what? Make informed decisions. And that's data analytics. It is simply the collection, organization, and transformation of data to make decisions. So if it's as important as it is in your daily life, now imagine how important it will be to organizations who have someone can come with a business, they say he has maybe 2 billion naira and he wants to invest in a particular business. Most likely he would want to make findings on, okay, what works and what does not work, right? You can't come and be making winter jackets in Nigeria and expect it to work. It can't work because it's obvious that we don't have as much code as it is over there. So data analytics seeps into every facet of life, and we can see how important it is by even looking at our basic, now much more scaling it up to big organizations who have to make critical decisions on a daily basis on what to do and how to drive the business, and we can now see how important is it. So I'll move on and I'll say, what are the types of data analytics? And I'll be a bit practical here, right? For some of us that must have heard of this before, I know a couple of us that have probably done some research would have seen this, but I'll be very practical about it. Descriptive analytics is just saying what has happened. That's it. What has happened in our business over the past 1 year? What has happened in our business? It's all performance assessments. What has happened over the past 6 months? What has happened over the past 3 years? Diagnostic analytics is talking about what caused what happened. It's simply a root cause investigation. What caused the issues that happened? What caused a downturn in sales? What caused an upturn in production? What caused it? Next thing is predictive analytics, and that is we're trying to predict the future. And that's one of the amazing things about data. The fact that I'm able to sit like this, right? Analyze a couple of data from the past and correctly predict what will happen in 2-3 years from now is one of the amazing things about data. The fact that what you can predict what will happen in future, and most likely 98 to sometimes 95 to 98% you can actually get it. Then the fourth one is prescriptive analytics, which is I'm able to prescribe actions based on what has happened in the past. And I'm going to give you a typical example of this based on my previous organization, because I've noticed that many times, we see a lot of descriptions online. We're trying to wonder, how does this fit into reality? Now, I'll give you a simple example. in my previous organization where I was working, I used to, develop some reports which I did weekly. I started in 2019. As around 2022, we observed that many times, because it's more like a report that shows the number of cards printed, that's debit cards printed in each branch. We used to have card printing machines. So those card printing machines usually print, debit cards for customers and they use it. So what we do then was I collect those reports. I try to, just analyze and send to my boss. But at that point, I didn't have a knowledge of data analytics. But then, because of my colleague who was always, my friend who was always talking about it, I started studying about data analytics. I now discovered I can actually apply insights to this thing I'm doing, this report I'm just doing. I then started doing charts, right? I was able to look at what happened over the past 2 to 3 years. I was able to now describe accurately for my boss, okay, this is what will happen for 2 years. For every year, we then noticed something that for every year, January had a high rate. We had the highest number of cards printed in the branches from September down to November. In fact, usually we now discover that November was the month that had the highest number of cards printed almost yearly. Between September and November, they usually have the highest number of cards printed. While between May and June or July thereabouts, we have the least number of cards printed. Guess what? We then started doing a root cause investigation. And what could be causing this? We then asked ourselves, we noticed that sometimes between May and July, which is diagnostic analytics now, between May and July, we discovered that we observed there were more, sometimes we had holidays, and we noticed that sometimes we usually have downtimes within those periods. But between September and November, that was when, number one, we noticed that we usually have lots of card printers coming back to the head office because they were having issues they were having issues. And we noticed that the reason why they had issues because there was an overload of card printed on them. And the reason why there was an overload is simply because that overload was caused because many people were printing cards in that period because it was getting to the festive season, especially in November. For those who wanted to travel in December, they'll quickly print the cards they want to print in November. And by December, they can go ahead and do their travels. And bam, once we're able to feature that, immediately we swung into action. And the next year, once it was around September, when we saw that data, my boss, we discussed and we sent out extra card printers to those branches. And that year, we were able to harness that massive traffic in the branches. And it was really like, in fact, at the end of the year, my boss literally called me to a meeting, and in presence of everybody, we were just so happy. And he said, look, take this 50, I don't want to mention it. He just gave me like an amount that was based on his own personal free will, because he was so impressed on how data was able to use to solve practical business problems. And when your boss is so happy like that, definitely in the ESCO's meeting where he's also been someone, they must have praised him for doing a very wonderful job. And I was just trying to show us a quick insight on the power of what data actually does to make informed business decisions and helps you to see the reality of some of these things that have been stated here in real business world. Yeah. So what are the key components of data analysis? What are the key components? It starts from data collection, right? You need to collect your data from Excel. You have your Excel data source. You have your XML files. You can do your web scraping. You can scrape from the web, any of these sources. Then you also have to clean your data, right? Data cleaning is very important. And one thing about data cleaning you need to understand is you need to understand the context of the data. You can't clean data if you don't understand its context. For example, we know in Africa here, we have phone numbers as 11, right? That's, your 080 and all of those kind of things, right? If you don't understand context, if you're not careful, you might see a number that has just 7, and you begin to think, okay, is this a phone number or not? Automatically, based on context, here we don't use a number that is just 7, except it's landline, of course. Mobile numbers are usually 11, right? And that's standard. And you understand you then know what to do, most likely to replace with 0 or null values. The next thing is data analysis. You need to be able to look at your data from the eye of a business person, right? What are the questions my business user would likely want to answer from this data? I always say something. In fact, I got from my mentor. He said something. He said, when you want to do a dashboard, right, you must first sit and ask yourself, this data I'm doing a dashboard for, why am I trying to do a dashboard? Why do I want to analyze the data? What are the questions? What are the problems, right? Because when you understand that as a data analyst, you are like the ear of the executives, you are more like you are like the heartbeat of the organization, because it is your informed insight that they are going to be able to power what they are doing. It is what you are bringing to the table as my informed insight. So you see it as a way of you are guiding the business on what to do, just like I explained in the previous part where I was able to guide the business and we ended up making massive profits in that line that particular year because we were able to manage things appropriately. So data analysis, you ask yourself, you write down business questions that you expect that this data will be able to answer. This question, why do we have highest number? What are the highest number of products that are being sold? Why do we always have a downtime within a low sales performance between May and June? Why? Put all of those things together. Look at your data. The next thing is what? You visualize. Now, I always say something. If you want to visualize data, your visualization is an answer to the questions of people. Every chart answers a question. I'm an executive. I look at your chart. I see, okay, at the top left, I can see the total, the gross revenue. Okay, downwards, I can see another a bar chart showing, okay, these are the categories of products by categories of products, right? And I can see which one is doing well. I see another line chart. Okay, I can see that, okay, this line is showing me how well our performance is doing over time, right? So every chart answers a business question. Once you can understand this, your dashboard will speak more meanings to people, right? So what are the real world applications of data analytics? I already explained earlier. You can apply it in business intelligence, healthcare, finance, marketing, social media. I'll just pick marketing in this case. Now, and it's very interesting that in this world of data analytics, right, and usage of data, I'm going to, I know many of us are aware of this, but I'm just going to bring to your knowledge that you are actually the product. So every time you search your internet, you check sites, your data is being collected, right? Once your data is being collected, it is sold to organizations at huge cost, and they then begin to channel adverts that are tailored to meet your needs. Now, many of us will find ourselves checking Instagram or checking Facebook or checking maybe YouTube or as the case may be or whatever it is. And you find out that many times after checking one show on Jumia, you discover that you keep having all manner of recommendations on that show. And if you are not, your spending is not a very wonderful one, you will likely find yourself just clicking on it and buying it. So what happens is that you are able, there's been a system of collection of data that is able to harness your wants, our preferences, everything about us, curate it, create a form of online profile, and what? Begin to ship advertisements in that direction. And knowingly or unknowingly, we are what? Falling into what? That programming daily. So what is happening right now is that everyone, we are being programmed to what? To like some certain set of things based off of what? The information that is being collected from us by many of these big organizations. And I can tell you for free, they are making a lot of big money from it for free. For example, a typical example is Netflix. Netflix will pull information. They will know, okay, what kind of movies are raining, what type of movies are not raining, pull that information and what? Begin to what? Churn out movies in line of customer preferences. Amazon Customer Analytics, they would pull customer data, study your buying habits. I once heard of a story, very interesting story, and I'll just share with us. A particular man, I think he had a daughter, right? Apparently, he didn't know that his daughter was pregnant. Now, some of us might have heard the story. It's a very popular story. He didn't know his daughter was pregnant. Apparently, his daughter had been checking out, I think, pregnancy, maybe care pads and pregnancy-related items online. Suddenly, the man got a mail from the organization, I think, talking about regarding pregnancy-related stuff, and he was furious. He got into them. He started trying to do a lawsuit and all of those things, and later, he then found out that his daughter, the company got to know that his daughter was pregnant based on her site studying habits before he as the father got to know. And I sat down like, wow. So I can just be like this, and information can be pulled from me and advert to be churned in that line. And daily we find people making spending choices, not necessarily because that is what they want, but because those are the options that have been made available to them based off of the data that has been that they provided to to the online website, which is simply amazing. And that just shows how powerful data really is. And some of the simple tools and technologies, Excel is foundational. Personally, I used to dislike Excel a lot. I used to dislike it. But after I had to sit down and go and learn it properly, and I discovered that Excel is foundational to data analytics. Simple function in Excel, it gives you a whole broad idea of how data works, right? You're able to understand data in its truest form. You're able to skim through things, just see things from a broad overview. It gives you a strong understanding of how the data world works, right? Afterwards, you can then step into Power BI. Power BI is simply, you can just sit down and begin to do wonders with the visualization of Power BI. It gives you the power to model your data. You can connect to different data sources, right? Web sources, Azure blob storage, SQL database, different data sources. Bring your data together, model your data, connect your data in such a way that would have never been possible in Excel, right? And then present information from different sources, right? In a unified and integrated approach. So Power BI is simply amazing, and then we have SQL. SQL is Power BI is a visualization. So while SQL is called SQL, structured query language. It's a language for querying databases, right? So primarily SQL is also very important. It's a language that you use to query databases. So your data can either be stored as a flat file, which is in Excel, which a lot of organizations still use, or in a database, right, which is usually faster, and it can contain or accept much a larger form of data, and you can do a whole lot of things that you can't probably do on flat files. Then some other skills that you probably need to learn, Tableau and Python. Those ones are more extra. The first three are like fundamentals. While Tableau and Python, as you step up, you can then learn those ones, right? And so, what are the opportunities? A lot of opportunities abound in the field, and the job market, it is wide, right? There are a whole lot of openings for job roles in the data analytics field lately. We see a lot of data analytics job openings. We see a lot of now, interestingly, one thing that we find out is that it actually even splits a lot of it. You can get a job as a business intelligence developer, as a data analyst, as a business analyst. You can even then switch into data engineering or being a data scientist, right? So it is a very, very wide. You have openings coming up daily. And the interesting part is you go and check a typical UK role, and you find out that many of the things you see there is, okay, we require knowledge of Excel, SQL, Power BI. That's all. If you check LinkedIn, data analyst, you will not see Excel, SQL, Power BI. Maybe a few of them will then be asking for Python, but sometimes fundamentally as simple as those three skills are fine enough. Salary levels. Once you check, if you check on Glassdoor, you find out that for US, right? US are usually, I think they're like the highest paid salaries in the world, around $70,000 to probably $100,000 for entry data analyst, around $70,000, while for UK, entry data analyst is between £38,000 to £45,000, which is excellent for a starter. I mean, just for understanding how to use Excel, Power BI, and SQL, like not like a developer, just to use those three things to be able to bring up information. And as a senior data analyst, you can then begin to earn up to $120,000. That's if you're in the US, or in the UK too, around £90,000. So and as you keep growing, the salary levels keep increasing, and the career growth, there is a massive career growth. Because one thing, and I think I'll pick something from what Dari mentioned earlier. The interesting part about being a data analyst is you are directly at the core of the business, right? So any role you are actually gunning for, you must be able to target a role that directly impacts the business. And when you are a data analyst, your role is to present informed insights to the organization based off your what you've been able to analyze from the data. And once you're able to provide real value to the business based off of what you've been able to generate from the data, you are indispensable. And it's just the reality. You are simply indispensable. Industry diversity, you have a whole lot of, you can actually be vast in a whole lot of things. Then innovation and impact, you can actually make real impact in an organization, because you are not just an operational person. And note it today, a data analyst is not an operational staff, is a strategic staff, right? Because that is the strategic staff, that what you are being paid for is not even just the dashboards, but the informed insight you are bringing to the table that gives the business that leverage, that profit, that increase in their run, right? So, and imagine when a typical businessman will tell you, look, anyone who brings the money, that's why salespeople are the ones that get promoted the most in every organization, because they are simply the ones that bring the money. So as a data analyst, once you are able to what? Make your organization make more money, then you probably you are obviously indispensable. Yeah. So what are the future trends? Artificial intelligence and machine learning. And as we all know what's going on with the current trends in artificial intelligence, we know that your data, once that's the future. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, internet of things, and advanced visualization techniques, right? So with that, I'm just going to round up this session by saying data always has a better idea. No matter what anyone is saying about the organization, this is how the organization should do things. You can bring your data and tell them, look, this is what the data is saying, and I can tell you for proof that if you do this, you are going to get the results. Thank you very much. I think I'll just pause here. Thank you very much, everyone, for this. I hope we're able to gain something. So, yeah, thank you.
To
Hello,
see.
Ibukun.
Thank you so much. That was pretty insightful. Okay. So before we bring Dari back to tell us the juicy things he has for us today, I think this would be a good time to actually take the questions. So um I would be scrolling through the questions that have been dropped on the chat. If you have your questions, whether cybersecurity related, DevOps related, or data analysis related, please drop them in the comment section and we will be taking the questions. So the first person said, I don't think this is directed to anyone in particular, but he said, can you tell what each type of IT field requires? As I am having difficulty in choosing my field. So I think this person is having difficulty in choosing a particular field of interest in tech. So I don't know if Dari can help with, an idea of how to choose a field in tech.
Yeah, certainly. I'll be happy to help. So I think part of the things that I said and that Tosin said has sort of answered that in a way. Um, One of the things you have to always do is to evaluate two things. Okay. The first thing, evaluate your personal strength. Okay. I can see some people have been asking in the comment section saying, oh, do I need to learn coding to do DevOps or to do cybersecurity? Some people, maybe because they've done a bit of coding in school and they just hate it. They just don't want to hear anything about it. And for that reason, they're already uh, they already have this resistance towards it. So you want to evaluate your strength first of all. Some people are naturally analytical without anyone asking them. They just have it as a talent, as a natural ability. People like that may not find difficulty in doing analysis and crunching data and doing those sort of things. So you want to start first of all with your personal ability. Some people they don't like talking a lot, right? They don't want a role that will get them to talk all day long, and so naturally they can't do sales. They'll rather be in the back end, right? And because you are happy to be just behind the computer screen, working all day long, things around systems, operations, and coding and things like that may just be something that you'll be interested in. So you want to start first of all with yourself, okay? Once you're able to analyze your strength, then you go to the market, right? So you have options in front of you. There is cybersecurity, there is data analysis, there is DevOps, and a few other things. You want to truly understand each of those markets and ask questions like, what is the future opportunities this hold for me, because you should not always think about the present, because you're going to learn. It probably takes you maybe 6 months or 3 months or whatever to learn, and then you get your job. You don't want to get into a career where after 1 year of working in that space, the next thing you're hearing, oh, this is not working anymore, it has to be that. And then you're in that cycle of learning something else again. You don't want that, right? So you want to understand the trend in that industry. Look at how has this industry grown from 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and what's the future trend? And the good thing is Google has some amazing tools out there. If you search on Google Trend, I think is what they're called, you can put keywords there and it shows you data about certain careers. And from there, you can begin to make some conscious decisions to say, okay. I mean, I mentioned the other time that I started my career working in the field of data. So I used to do a lot of database administration, but part of it was also some data analysis. So I had experience working with, I did a lot of things around SQL that Tosin was mentioned the other time. And, at the time, I was trying to find what was next for me in my career, right? And the next natural thing for me was big data. So part of my research led me into technologies like Hadoop, Cloudera, Hortonworks, building data lakes and working with all sorts of technologies in the space of big data. But in the course of doing that, I found myself in the cloud. I then started getting interest in DevOps because DevOps was new at the time. And then I switched into that. But guess what? People who are in the big data industry are also killing it, right? They're doing amazing things as well as in DevOps and cybersecurity. So the good thing is with these areas in tech, you can never get it wrong. That's the summary of this. So once you understand what the market is saying, you're confident this is going to be future proof. It's just a matter of looking inward, looking at yourself and being true to yourself and say, okay, do I have abilities into that? Or am I able to spend time to learn this or the other? You just have to be true to yourself. And that way you can make that final decision. But at the end of the day, whichever one you choose, you can never get it wrong. That's the summary, okay? You just have to look inward and make the best decision for yourself. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much, sir. So we do have quite a number of questions, and it would be nice to actually touch up on all of them. But I would like to say that if you're here, this is actually a good time. Even if you joined late, this is a good time to listen in because other people might ask the questions that you have in mind. And for those asking about the recording, you would get a recording of this webinar after the event if you stay till the end of the webinar. So please stay till the end, ask your questions, and you would also get a recording. So the next question is also for Dari. Nathaniel says, please, how do I need to know? Oh, do I need to know how to code to become a DevOps engineer?
Good question. I get that question all the time. And I don't blame you because coding is not, obviously, it's not easy. So I'm not going to say, oh, it's easy, it's straight to the point and all that. It comes with its own learning curve, and it doesn't mean that it's terrible. It's just normal that when you start coding, when you start learning it the first time, your head can start spinning, and unless you have someone guiding you and showing you the ropes and all that, okay? Having said that, there is different types of coding, okay? There is object-oriented programming. There is procedural programming. There are declarative programming, okay? And when you get into any technology field at all, okay, let's forget about whether it's cybersecurity or DevOps or data analysis or anything like that. You see, fundamental of programming is very important. Okay, concepts around variables. Okay, looping through things, right? Being able to automate basic things. You know, there are certain basic concepts that wherever you go in the world of tech, that fundamental knowledge is required. Okay, so it has nothing to do with programming in general. It has nothing to do with programming specifically to software development or mobile app development or anything like that. It is just fundamental programming skill that anyone at all should have. Even if you're working in Excel, even if it's as simple as working in Excel and you want to take your Excel knowledge to the next level, there are basic programming concepts that you must have. You know, you can't be in tech and not understand how variables work or what a variable is. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. So let's now put that out of the way. So now you understand the basics, right? The next thing is you need to then focus on the area of programming that your career requires. So if you spend a lot of time in, let's say, DevOps, for example, there's a lot of declarative programming involved. And that's where you hear things like JSON, YAML. You know, you're working with certain languages that requires you to just declare things. Oh, I want 5 servers in the cloud. And then you go server equals 5. So at the end of the day, it's also programming, but it's not the same programming as if you were writing Java code or JavaScript or PHP or any of those. Now, having basic knowledge in Python is obviously a no-brainer, because wherever you go, Python is a fundamental skill that you should have. You should put in your tool belt so that even when you're moving your career around, you know, it will always go along with you. Whatever it is that you're doing, you know, having basic programming skills is very, very important. Okay. So to summarize, programming, yes, you should have programming skills. It's just a matter of to what extent, to what level is required. You don't need huge programming skills to do DevOps or cybersecurity or even data analysis. Okay. But when you start taking your career to the next level, then you can start taking more advanced knowledge. And that's where the beauty of technology is, because you can always go to the next level. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much, sir. Somebody here is asking how, excuse me, please. Okay, how can someone without an IT background transition into DevOps? And how many weeks, months, or years can it take for such a person to become well-versed in DevOps?
That's a very good question, because part of what I was going to show in my other slides is to show you how we make magic happen at Time. You know, we have helped, you know, thousands of people in the last 3 years that we've been operating our business. And we say you don't need to have background in tech for you to join us and learn from our platform. And that's because we focus on project-based learning. So we have different levels. So you come in as a complete beginner, you don't have any knowledge at all in tech. We begin to hold you by the hand, and then you start implementing project. So in the first 3 months, you would have enough foundational skills to confidently go out and start applying for internship or junior level roles. But what I get to say to a lot of people is the space between having internship level knowledge and a mid to senior level knowledge is just a few more months down the line. So you don't want to get in as an intern and lose the opportunity to move your career a little step higher so you can earn more money, right? Just because you're out too early. Okay. So if you give yourself 6 months to 9 months or maximum 1 year of dedication and learning and honing your skills, you will be absolutely surprised at what you will become. Okay. But that's for DevOps, right? For other areas like data analysis, cybersecurity, the learning curve is different. Like Tosin mentioned the other time, for data analysis, you only need those 3 initial things, right? You learn Excel, you learn Power BI, you learn what's the third thing that Tosin mentioned? No, Python came later on. I can't remember, but basically he mentioned 3 things, right? And those 3 things literally can get you through the door, and in 8 months you can actually learn enough to get you there, right? So it's relative to the career, right? Thank you. Ademola mentioned SQL. So you learn those 3 things, including SQL, right? And you'll be fine. Cybersecurity is another one, right? Again, cybersecurity is really wide. If you remember some of the things that Arinze mentioned earlier on, okay, it's really wide. However, in the first 8 weeks, you can get yourself out there. Okay, learn enough of the triad thing that Arinze mentioned and some other things, and then later you can begin to specialize. You can become a specialist network analyst or senior cybersecurity something, and you'll be fine. So it's very relative to different industries, and it's just a matter of taking the first steps, getting started, and then taking your 2 months, 3 months, taking it to the next level.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think I'm going to take 2 more questions for DevOps, and then we move on to other fields. This person says, as a DevOps engineer, is it legal to work for more than one company remotely?
Okay, so now this has nothing to do with DevOps engineer. This is more of a I would say I'm looking for that right word, but it's an integrity issue here we're dealing with. Okay, a lot of people, they call it job stacking, where you work for multiple companies at the same time just because you've learned the skill and you're able to deliver, and then you work literally 24/7 round the clock because you have to deliver for the different organization. Now, you will make money, yes. You can imagine working 150K a year for this company, 150K for another company, 200K for that car, and in a year you're making like $300,000-$400,000 a year, doing that. But one thing is certain: number one, you're not going to give your best to all the organizations you're working for, and even though there are it depends on the contract you sign with who you're working for. You may be breaching your contract, so you have to look into your contract specifically. If your contract literally says you cannot work for another organization and you're doing that, you're obviously breaching your contract. But apart from that, you also have to look at the value you're providing, because you have to provide value to the organization. And it's a small industry, small in the sense that these are technical skills that it won't take long before the word goes out. And not a lot of people have the technical skills out there. It may seem like a lot of people in tech, but trust me, comparing it to the level of demand and the number of companies looking for engineers, it's a small industry, right? So if you work for this organization, you don't give them a lot of value, and they realize it's because you're working for other organizations. Before you know it, the word start going out, and your CV is in front of another company, and you never know, they may have certain information about your profile. So you don't want to burn bridges. So it's a matter of integrity for me. You just want to make sure that you stick to your organization, you provide the value, you get the job done, let them feel your value, and then you can move on to other places. What I was going to say is that if you're looking for opportunities to make more money, there are many other ways you can make more money rather than job stacking and working with different organizations. You can freelance, you can have a consultancy, you can hire people to do the work, right? And just oversee things. You can send proposals to organizations and deliver service from your organization, and you can hire freelancers to get the job. There are many things you can do because you have the skill. You can oversee other people doing the work on your behalf, right? Okay, so you can do that. I see people do that a lot, but make sure you look at your contract, okay? Even though you can do that, you want to make sure you're also not breaching the contract with the company you're working for. So that's the way I would respond to that. You're on mute, Ibuku.
Apologies, please. I was trying to take a question from Instagram. So this person says, as a DevOps engineer, how do you keep an eye round the clock on prod infra? Do companies have more than one DevOps engineer to work shift? What if you're the only engineer? How do you monitor 24/7?
Right. Okay. That's an interesting question. And, if you remember when we were talking about DevOps and the different tools, okay, and that DevOps logo, one thing that should come out to you is the planning phase. Okay. Remember, we have the planning and then all the other things that goes around to the loop. Now, it depends on the infrastructure you have and what you have in place. Okay. And there's something called there is protective monitoring. Okay, there's reactive monitoring, and there is proactive monitoring. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have proactive monitoring in place. It's not the same thing as reactive monitoring. You don't want to wait until things happen before you react. So when you have proactive monitoring in place, you can monitor things round the clock and you can still go to sleep. Okay? I'll give an example. An example is if you're monitoring your systems and you have an infrastructure that ensures that before there's a problem, in 2 days' time, you're alerted from today. So the problem has not actually happened, but you're aware that in 2 days' time, there's going to be a problem because you have monitoring in place that has data analysis involved that shows you there is a spike, and there is predictive analysis that has been put in place as well that tells you that in 2 days' time, we're going to fill our disk, or in 2 days' time, CPU is going to spike and something is going to break. So because of that, you get alerted, and today you fix that problem, and your users are never going to experience any downtime. Okay, but reactive monitoring is you get alerted when the problem is happening and your system is down, and then you're running helter skelter, and everybody is holding their head, and you can even make mistakes at that point because you're under pressure. Okay, so it depends on the infrastructure that you put into place and your understanding of how to monitor that infrastructure, and then having the right tools in place. Then you'll be fine. You can monitor things around the clock. It doesn't mean you have to stay up around the clock. Okay. Obviously, depending on the SLAs of the systems involved. Okay, you may be monitoring a system that has an SLA that has to be up 99.99999. Okay. And in that instance, you have to deploy engineers to make sure that around the clock, someone is on shift, looking at things, making sure that nothing goes wrong. But the most important thing is the infrastructure, the system that's been put in place. For example, you don't just release things into production unless there is a solid continuous integration, continuous deployment or delivery, a strategy that ensures that before things go into production, it is tested to a certain extent that gives you confidence, right? So even in production, things are not just going to go wrong, right? It is the infrastructure, the foundation of what has been put in place that will determine whether or not you have to stay up all night. Okay, so is there any more question for DevOps before we move on?
Yes, we do have more questions from DevOps, but I think we should move on to another field now because I don't think we'll be able to exhaust all the questions. Some have actually been answered during the course of your presentation. Maybe when they watch the recording, they would get more insight. So, but thank you very much. If we have more time, we would come back to the questions for DevOps, but we would like to move on now. Thank you very much. So we would move on to the questions on cybersecurity. Arinze.
Yes, yes, yes. Hello.
So someone is asking, Is coding involved in the cybersecurity training? I don't like coding.
Okay, so the short answer, yes, but the long-term answer, not really. I will answer the yes and the not really. Yes, because in the world that we operate in today, right, there is a need, right, to get yourself abreasted with all the security antics that you see in most of the modes that they operate in. If you saw the presentation, there are several aspects, right? I said you could learn while moving into cybersecurity. I mentioned cryptography, endpoint security, incident response, cloud security, penetration testing, and all that, right? While you could function in all those areas without having no knowledge of coding or any skills in maybe um, Python or any of those other coding languages like that, right? It is important to know that people execute these schemes or those policies faster. And the whole idea about security is, hey, you're trying to fight a battle, right? Because you're trying to ensure these things are being protected, and then the people who are not meant to get access to them don't get access. So that means those guys, I mean the hackers now, people like rogue agents, bad actors, and co. Those guys, their skill sets, what they can do, you have to be able to do that as well, right? To counter them. I'll give you an example. A WannaCry, if you go on the internet and watch or read about the WannaCry story, it was solved by a young man called Marcus Hotchkiss, right? He lives in the US. And what he did was he used his own code, which he was developing as a beginner, to solve a crisis that was affecting millions of hospitals. So he created a backend server that would go and mitigate brute forces that were attacking servers worldwide for different hospitals, right? So he was learning, but then he perfected his own algorithm and he ensured that that WannaCry situation, right, will be resolved using an algorithm that he reverse engineered. So, what in a nutshell, you don't need to, right? But just to keep yourself advanced with what people are doing on the unsafe zone. In cybersecurity, there's something we call the safe zone and an unsafe zone. Generally, the internet is an unsafe zone. I mean, you don't want to go too deep into the conversation. That's just the way it is, right? There are thousands and thousands of bad things in the internet. At the same time, there are good things. So to keep yourself protected from that unsafe zone, you have to equip yourself and get yourself that strong as well. So that's why there's a yes. And in reality, not really. You don't have to know how to program. I hope that answers your question.
So there's one more question. Is it possible to learn cybersecurity virtually without access to physical devices and practical sessions? And how possible is it to truly earn while learning in this field?
Okay, so it's a gradual process. That's a beautiful question, by the way. It's a gradual process, and like any other area of tech, you have to start right from what you are willing, what you have seen within yourself. So because there are several areas, I mean, cybersecurity is so big, so big, because there are several areas where you can dive in, right? Several areas require certain or specific tools for you to utilize, right? Um, for instance, right, if you are a network security consultant or specialist, which I started with, right, there is no way you're going to, work in the labs without getting yourself involved with stuff like switching or firewalls or access points or layer three devices or edge proxies, right? Reverse edge proxies for perimeter security or any of that stuff. Even if you don't get your hands on the hardware, you would have to deal with a virtual machine or a software version. So, uh, in IT and in tech, you look at all those things as appliances, whether they are virtual machines, that's the software version, or the hardware versions, right? They are all appliances. So, say for example, if you want to go into networking, you would have to get your hands busy, right? But at the same time, if you're going to other places like penetration testing, cryptography, if you want to be a security analyst, you don't really necessarily have to get get your hands dirty on all those hardware appliances or any of the virtual appliances. There are things you could just spin up on the cloud. There are things that you could have the software or the exe crack for, and you just try to execute within your own confined space, right? And it's important you do it within your own confined space because, like I said, the moment you connect yourself to the internet, right, and you begin to do these tests, a lot of things occur in between, except you have like something you call like a secure channel. You get to understand these things more when you dive in. Secure channel will keep you isolated while you're learning most of those things. So yeah, you can actually practice without having any of those hardwares or whatever, right? You don't need to. It depends on the particular aspect where you want to focus on.
Thank you. I hope that helps the person who asked the question. So, Dennis would like to know, what requirements do I need in a computer system to handle cybersecurity tasks?
Hmm. So, generally speaking, like I said, there are bad guys and there are good guys, like us, right? The bad guy and the good guy have to be, they're always in constant competition, just like yin yang, right? Good and evil. But if you want to make yourself um, highly skilled, it's good that you have a computer system that can take most of the basic functions that you use to run any of these tools. What do I mean? If you're using, I'm going deep now into the specs of the hardware. If you're using a Windows system, it's good you have with the latest OS. That's Windows 11 or Windows 10 Professional, or even the Home or Basic OS. It has to have at least 16 gigs of RAM so that you can run your virtual machine seamlessly, right? It has to have at least 300 gigabytes of storage, and then the network connectivity and all those network ports, right, should be available. Or at the very least, if you could get a standard IEEE um, Type C, right, connector that would have all those open ports where you can plug in the interfaces and then you get access to all those other things. It's fine. Now, if you're using a Mac, right? It's good you get any Mac that's from like Mountain Lion up with the OS. That's from Mountain Lion to I think the latest OS now is Sonoma, right? And then it should also have at least 8 or 16 gigs of RAM. It should have at least 256 gigs of storage, and then from there oh, this is the processing power of your capacity for your engine, and you can use it for other aspects. For Linux-based systems, basically you can share the same properties that you have with either the Mac or the Windows, because I think Mac and Linux they share the same Unix system. So in terms of the requirements, once you have a system that has those capabilities, you're more than good to take on any task, right? Depending on your storage and capacity level. Okay, I hope that gives a good, fair answer. And that's just the average. You can go well above, right? Should you want to go further, to do more intensive tasks and stuff like that.
We would move on now to the questions on data analysis. Um, Tosin, are you ready for us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. This person says, can AI replace individuals in key data analytic roles with the full introduction of deep machine learning?
Okay, so I notice. So I think this question is actually a very fundamental question because
Can we hear me clearly? Yeah, okay. So I know a lot of people have this fear, will AI take our jobs? Will AI take our jobs? So
I would answer with this question, right? Or with this answer. One thing AI, at least for now, does not have is what we call critical. One of the things that humans have, right? And which a data analyst, which you need to understand as a data analyst is first off, you need to understand that data analytics is much more than just the analytics of the information and all. Where you truly shine is your ability to bring informed insights based on your understanding of domain knowledge, that is the understanding of your domain, based on your critical thinking, your ability to observe different nuances in different situations, right? Based on your ability to interpret the data based on what you understand of the current industry and what is currently on ground, right? In terms of context, in terms of every other thing, right? That is where you shine as data analyst, and that is what AI cannot do. So AI cannot understand that the Yorubas have a different way of doing things than the Hausas. So most likely in Yoruba culture, you might easily say you can probably sell more. I'm just taking an example, right? Probably in a typical Hausa environment, you might sell more turbans than in a Yoruba environment, right? So what AI will not be able to offer is critical thinking skills, right? In terms of understanding of the domain context, in terms of understanding of the nuances, in terms of understanding of your critical thinking, how well you're able to interpret situations, interpret human emotions, interpret all of these things, bringing them together to bring one context, right? So that's one thing I know AI cannot do, at least not in the present, maybe in the nearest future. Well, so with that, I can tell you that there's no need to worry. So far, you are going beyond just creating dashboards, and you are able to bring real value in terms of your understanding of context, right? So I'm actually being emphatic on that because that is where you truly shine. Your true uniqueness is your critical thinking skills and your understanding of domain knowledge and bringing real value and informed insights to the business. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. I hope that answers
Okay,
the question well for the person.
hopefully, yes. Aziz would like to know, talking about the types of data analytics, as a data analyst, are you expected to be able to do all of them? I mean, are you expected to be able to describe, diagnose, predict, and prescribe?
Okay, so that's a very good question. So you can start with understanding how to do just one, but if you followed the story I gave earlier, you'll find out that at the end of the day, one of the major values you can finally offer is when you're able to do all of them because you can describe the problems. If you describe my problem to me as a business owner and you tell me what the cause is, right? If you are not able to give me actions on how to solve that problem, you've done a good job of describing my problems, which is just beautiful, right? You've told me the cause, but you've not told me the solution. So I might as well have someone else who can also do that same thing. Oh, sorry, I lost my power in this place. Someone else who can do that same thing, but most likely not, So that's one thing you can finally observe. So it is usually advisable you would be able to do everything. Although you can start with understanding how to describe the problem, but the next stage is to what? To progress to digging further information to be able to do all of them, and that way you can really provide value for the information. Yes. Sorry, I lost my power here, so I might not be able to just come up immediately. Yes.
Someone else is asking, in using SQL for data analysis, are you expected to memorize codes or is it mostly a flow pattern of what you need?
Okay, so that's a very nice one. So solving SQL for SQL queries, I think one of the fundamental things you need to understand is you must understand that you need to understand how to solve questions practically. So you might, in fact, Google is going to be your best friend. Google, and if possible, maybe ChatGPT, but Google primarily will be your best friend when you start, as a data analyst or in this field because you find yourself checking up things more often. So what you need to understand is what exactly is the problem I want to solve? How do I solve this problem? Usually, in solving every problem, there is always an algorithm to solving a problem, right? So once you understand the algorithm, you understand, okay, fine, you break the problem into steps and then you can then begin to use your knowledge of your basic queries to solve the problems. So one of the things I can also recommend is you can probably check out some videos online or some platforms. Hackerrank does quite a lot. I think SQL Boats provides learning platforms. No, I don't think there's any developer that actually that actually crams or memorizes any code, right? It's not even possible. I don't think there's anybody that does that. What everyone does is understanding the problem. They understand what they're supposed to do, and just check in internet and build up the solution. And usually there's always an advice you give when you're trying to solve problems. The first thing is have a pseudo code, right? So what is, so you're just trying to understand and break the problem down into bits. So you have a whole statement problem, break down the problem into bits, then begin to solve them one after the other, then put your solution together. So I think that's about for that question here.
Okay, so we do not have so much time left, and Dari would still like to, talk to you about some things. It has something juicy for you, so you have to wait till the end of the webinar to be able to get what that is. But I would like to bring him back up to conclude his presentation and to answer one or two more questions here. And I think this question is important because he will do justice to it. So someone is asking, what is the advantage of learning from Dari.io? Like, what sets Dari.io apart from other learning platforms? And do you help your students get internships? Do you help them get job opportunities and all of that?
All right. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So I guess it's just, it makes sense to bring up my slide up because that will be answered part of what I already have. So let me just bring back a slide. Are you able to see the slide? Okay, I think this is it, right? Okay, good. So we have, so this is where I stopped the other time, and I was going to talk about the Dari.io advantage, right? And we talked a lot about building experience. So note that I mentioned the experience. A lot of people focus on certification a lot. Now, we love certifications. I have a number of certifications myself, okay? But I can tell you for free that certification does not get you the job. Where certification's job ends is on your CV. It's good on the CV. It makes somebody wants to talk to you. But at the end of the day, if you get into that interview and you're not able to present confidence that you can get the job done or hit the ground running from the things you say, from the examples you give, from the use cases you talk about, from the experiences you share, then I'm sorry, you're not going to get the job. Okay. You can imagine if you have certifications that has been gotten just because you were able to practice some past questions, and you're able to pass the certification, or you watch a couple of YouTube videos or Udemy or whatever platform that you're learning from, and they ask you the question, tell me about a time that you implemented this, or that you took a business use case, or that you solved this problem. Tell me about a time that you did this and the challenges you faced. Trust me, this is not a question that you can fake. Okay, it is not a fake it to you make it type of situation. Okay, the situation here is you literally must have been through it to freely talk about it. And recruiters, employers, they are very, very good at spotting these things. When you start speaking and you can't fluently communicate the scenarios, it becomes hard for them to really place you on the scale of, what level of experience you have. I mean, some people may be good at just talking their way through to getting the job, but then again, another gate is still waiting for you there. We've seen people come to our platform and come to get the experience. And these are people that have actually gotten a job after taking some training, and they only spent a few weeks there because even from their first ticket, they could not get the job done. They couldn't hit the ground running. They couldn't do it because they didn't even know where to start. So one of our advantages, there's a whole lot of them, but one of the things that sets us apart is the fact that you're going to get your hands dirty, learning things and getting your mind exposed to a lot of use cases. And we do that through mini projects, capstone projects. So you get to do work on different projects and socially learn from different people, co-learners and mentors on our platform. Okay, so we have over 3,000 people that have gone through this platform right now, and the numbers are counting. So it's an opportunity to start something completely new and enjoy it. Okay, there will be challenges that we'll present to you, but you're going to enjoy the process. You see things happening on your laptop, you see yourself doing things, building things. We don't offer pre-built labs where the labs have already been built for you and then you have to go in and work on it. We want you to be able to build labs yourself. Okay, build things from ground up and see how exactly it is done behind the scene, and then you work on it. That's where the true value is. Then the opportunity to build experience, I've talked about that. Now the job guarantee comes with a terms and condition. We have series of projects. If you're able to dedicatedly, within a short period of time, do all your projects, attend the live classes, do everything that we present on our platform. We also have network of employers that are always constantly coming to us asking for talent. They always need talent, and because they trust in what we have to provide, they know that people who come from our platform have the skills. There's a whole lot of people that have gone through this platform, and right now they work remotely, work with amazing organizations, and I'm always happy, when they share their experiences. And I see some of them on LinkedIn posting about the things that they're doing at their respective job, and they're relating that to some of the things that they've done while they were still going through the projects. Okay, so you collaborate with peers and mentors, you have instant access to support. Okay, so our project-based learning, employers only want to hire people with experience, that's for sure. We use PBL, so anytime you hear PBL, it means project-based learning. So we use it to get hands-on experience. We bridge the gap if you do not already have any tech background. So when you come, you don't have tech background, we bridge that gap first of all, and then you start filling the holes, the gaps that you already have missing already. So you develop strong problem-solving skills. We emphasize a lot on collaboration because that's part of what you would experience when you get in the real world eventually. You're going to build a portfolio of projects for yourself. So on your GitHub account, you will be able to start building portfolio, right? You have your GitHub page profile where people can go to and see the things you're working on. I mean, that's amazing. You can put it on your LinkedIn profile as well and link people there. And a lot of people have actually got a job just by that alone, without CV. Just recruiters going, scanning through GitHub and seeing what people are working on. They reach out and you'll be surprised how amazing that is. Okay, so how do you select relevant projects? So, on our platform, I'll show you how that looks like in a bit, but basically, we go through certain process. Okay, so you start from the foundation, you go on to the advanced. Some people already have foundational skills already. You can get into the advanced, and then you identify the key DevOps, cybersecurity, data analysis, or whatever project it is. There are research-based real-world scenarios that you get access to. You're going to be up to date on your job descriptions. So when you start looking for work, you look at job descriptions, look at the technologies there. You can always use that to compare with the knowledge that you have. So learning how to automate processes, using of cloud services, collaboration, again, incrementally improve your skills. So you're not going to learn everything at once. Okay, you take it step by step. Okay, there's a learning curve that this has, and do not be overwhelmed when you get started. Right? We are going to give you all the support, but don't think that you have to learn everything at once. Take it a step at a time. All right. get your hands on as many capstone projects as possible. You know, we have a lot on our platform. We have what is called mini projects. We also have capstone projects. So the mini projects are mini, so they just help you, you know, build the foundation. But then we have capstone project that connects the dots together, right? It gets you to work on different technologies and concepts, and then it gives you simulated real world use cases from different industries: fintech, insurtech, healthcare, manufacturing, finance, whatever it is, different use cases that you can then take as a capstone, and there's a lot of them that you can then use as you carry on. Okay, so our platform itself, we track a lot of data. Okay, so how much of learning you're having, how much of projects, how much time you're spending to learn. All this data we're capturing is part of what we present to recruiters. So employers actually get to see your journey and how resilient you are, and how, you know, the kind of attitude you put into learning, because you don't have experience. And we go to them, we actually tell them that, look, these people do not have experience, right? All they have is what they've learned on our platform, and they trust that. And that's because of the quality of what you get going through this. And at the end of the day, it's about what you know. So they put you in an interview room, you actually talk about the things that you've been doing, and it's not different from someone who's been in the industry for the past 5 years. Literally, I mean, that is amazing, you know? So that's the magic that we create. That's what stands us apart. And, you know, I have never seen anything like it. You know, so this is an example of a real world use case where, you know, we present you with all sort of different diagrams or use cases that you literally tear down. You know, in some cases, we even ask you to create solutions, you create your own diagrams, and then you implement them, right? Again, projects, a series of projects, you get to see them well documented, code snippets, diagrams, GIFs, you know, all sort of things that will help you navigate the entire learning experience. Okay, so this is our Slack community. I mean, people are having the fun of their life, you know. So people ask questions, people dumping their screenshot, they're having issues with things, you know, and we have amazing, amazing, amazing tech support engineers, you know. And recently we've also implemented AI to support in the learning as well. So you get to share your screenshot. You have our AI that is called Davina. It responds to things going on in your entire journey. Okay. So where do I start? Like, you know, I've heard all of these things now. You know, I've decided I want to do cybersecurity or data analysis or DevOps or whatnot. Well, where exactly do I start? Well, there's no other place to start than to just join RA.io, right? So just join, right? Just get started. And one of the things I'm going to be giving you today is that amazing gift, which is for the fact that you're part of the webinar today, you would have a very, 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 you know, considerable discount. Okay, that is just going to get you started easily. You know, get access to your structured learning, more than 30 hands-on projects. You know, you have access to mentoring, live classes. You know, you launch a career in 3 to 6 months. You know, we have amazing reviews on Trustpilot. You can check it out yourself. So don't take our word for it. Go to the website right now. The prices are going to change soon. All right. So just take advantage of the discount. You know, just hit on there. There is a link as well that you will access. You know, we started with DevOps. We're introducing cybersecurity and data analysis. So if that's what you're interested in, you may not see that on the website, but there's going to be a link that will be shared in the comment section. So whether you're watching us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, wherever it is, you know, watch out for that link. You can use it to sign up and get your journey started. And so thank you very much, guys. It's been an amazing time spending time with you today. So if there's any more question, I'm happy to take it. If you want to come back on the stage and just take the final question, and then we call it a day or a night.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, I think we have a few more questions for DevOps. Okay, you've answered some of these ones. Okay, so this person says, I recently transitioned into business analysis and I want to improve my knowledge in IT. After doing a careful analysis of myself, I discovered I need more technical knowledge. So my question is, can I combine DevOps with business analysis or data analytics?
Okay, that is actually very interesting. And I'll tell you a quick story about myself. And I guess that will answer that question. So, when I was going to choose a career, so first off, I'm Nigerian. I moved to the UK from Nigeria, and that is my story. Now, before then, I was a fashion designer. I was not into tech at all. I had no clue what's going on in tech. So I moved to the UK. I wanted to launch a career, and I was trying to make a decision like many of you guys today. A lot of people around me was telling me, "Oh, why don't you do project management? Go do ITIL, go do Prince 2, And some people were talking about business analysis. I studied marketing from Lagos State Polytechnic, and I was thinking, okay, maybe I should just go to business analysis side of things, just because perhaps it relates to marketing that I did, and so I was just torn in between all that. Now, I started doing research, and when I hear things like project management coming from Nigeria, what was coming to my head was, oh, project management construction was what was coming to my head. So I thought maybe we'll be managing projects that relates to building houses and all that. So my research was pointing me towards IT projects. So I thought, okay, so if what we're going to be doing is managing IT project, I have no idea what IT is all about. Does it not just make sense to go learn IT first, and then I can take that knowledge and then come back to project management and then manage IT projects? So that was my intention. And then I started looking at what to learn. And what I learned at the time was data. So I learned about data, SQL, and database administration. All my focus was around SQL Server, Microsoft Products, and Oracle. Now, in the course of learning that, I was learning Linux as well. So long story short, I got stuck into tech. So the thing is, the moment you step your foot into learning this side of tech, you're going to start digging a hole that you find out that you're probably never going to come back out of it. Seriously, like, you can't literally combine business analysis and DevOps or any tech career together. If you have existing skills in business analysis, by all means, that is going to play a huge role and it's going to help you in whatever tech area that you choose. But if you want to go techie, you're just going to find yourself getting deeper knowledge and getting deeper and deeper and deeper because it never ends. You start learning one technology over to another. You start becoming very resourceful and working for organizations. And one day they need some tool, they need something, you want to quickly learn that. You get to learn it, you now have a new skill. Before you know it, you put it on your CV, recruiters are calling you and saying, hey, you have this skill, we have a project coming up, can you come help us with it? And no one's going to start calling you for business analysis or anything again, So that's what happens. Your life is just going to now start getting centered around your new career and you're going to keep on loving it. Okay. I hope that answers that question.
Hopefully it does for the person. But Crystal Uchenna says, please, should I learn software engineering before learning DevOps? Or should I learn Python programming before learning DevOps?
Okay, so with the way we've structured our program, you don't have to learn Python first or software engineering first, because when you start working as a DevOps engineer, you're not actually going to be developing software. Okay, and but knowledge in software development, whether it's backend, front end, or whatever it is, it will come handy, but it doesn't mean you're going to be doing it. So if you learn Python along the line, then that's fine. Okay, that satisfies that, and that's what one of the things that you're going to learn as you carry on in your career. The most important thing to get your hands on, first of all, if you're thinking of DevOps, is Linux. Okay, people struggle with that at first, and the reason why they struggle is because they learn the right things at the wrong time in the wrong order. Okay, so if you start learning software engineering, again, it's going to be another hole you'll be digging for yourself, because you just end up focusing a lot around software engineering. You learn Java, the next thing you're learning Java frameworks, you're learning other things, and you just focus on software engineering, and you never really get to come back into DevOps. Okay, except you just take that conscious decision. So DevOps itself is wide. It's allows you to learn a lot of things. And by the way, if you learn, let's say, cybersecurity, okay, there is a cross relationship between cybersecurity and DevOps as well, because there's something called DevSecOps, which is the security side of DevOps, and it helps you to automate things and to learn things on a very much more techie and hands-on perspective, but from a security angle. Okay, so I hope that helps, Crystal. All right, so Kelvin is asking, in project-based learning, are projects sourced from real-world industry applications? Are there any confidentiality restrictions? So no, they're not. So the way our project-based learning is done is they are simulation of real-world use cases from different organizations, okay? From our experience, from interacting with different partners, okay? So we work with different organizations, and let's say we implement a solution for a company. We see that as a trend, and a number of different companies are using that architecture, for example. We bring it into the project-based learning, and we don't put any sensitive data or even mention any organization there. They're all simulations. So we use fictitious names, okay? But the most important thing is to paint the architecture, paint the scenario, paint the requirement, and help you understand how it relates to business situations, and then give you detailed documentation, screenshot, code snippet, and thought process to delivering that solution, and then give you a task to do as well. And doing that repeatedly over different projects builds up your experience. Okay. Any more questions?
Someone wants to know if he has to learn all the tools you mentioned to become a certified DevOps engineer.
No. So there is a lot of tools, and it's realistically not possible to learn everything. I don't know everything, right? No one does. And there's new tools that keeps coming out all the time, right? So what you do, or well, what I do is anytime I'm looking for work, whether it's cybersecurity or data analysis, or this is relevant to any industry at all, go out there and search for jobs. Go to job sites, whether it's Indeed or Hacker Jobs, or there's a whole lot of them, or even if it's Google, just type in their data analysis jobs in the US, or remote data analysis job, or whatever it is, and then have a look at the job descriptions. They will put technologies there. Then look at the pattern. You look at the first one, it's talking about a number of technologies. Look at the second one, the third one. You notice certain technologies repeat across multiple organizations. For example, I talked about Linux the other time. There is no job description that you will not find Linux. So what does that tell you? It tells you immediately that's a must, right? So you want to take those technologies out of the way first. The ones that are the most important, you take them out of the way. Then you start focusing on the ones that have variations. For example, in DevOps, there's something called infrastructure as code. And there are multiple tools that allow you to implement infrastructure as code. So there's Terraform, there's CloudFormation, there's Pulumi, there's a few other ones. Now, the most popular one is Terraform. I mean, by the time you look at 5 job descriptions, 4 out of 5 is going to ask for Terraform. What does that tell you? Well, you can learn other ones, but you prioritize Terraform. Okay. So once you have Terraform in your belt, if you have time at your disposal, yes, you can go ahead and learn, other ones. But if time does not permit you, you still have other things you want to learn, don't bother learning those ones. Go ahead and learn the other ones. There's configuration management. There is in configuration management, you have Ansible, Chef, Puppet, a few other ones. Then research which one is the most popular. Oh, it's Ansible. Okay, what am I waiting for? Go and learn Ansible. Do I need to learn Chef, Puppet, and the other ones, Salt, and all of that? Well, maybe along the line, if I have time, or if your first job tells you, well, we're happy that you have Ansible skills, but because it's part of configuration management, we use Salt, right? Are you happy to learn Salt? Yes, I am. Then you can go ahead and learn Salt because the job at hand requires that. So that's the mindset you need to have. That's how you should approach these things. Don't go all out trying to learn everything. It doesn't make sense. And technology changes all the time. There was a time Ansible was like everywhere. Before you know it, containerization comes up, and then everyone is talking about Docker and Kubernetes. Guess what? The market share and the demand for Ansible gradually start diminishing because now companies are taking their workload from VM-based into containerized workloads, and that introduces new tools, like GitOps and Helm and all of that you now need to go and start learning. So that's how you get to see this, and that's technology for you, and I believe it's the same every other area.
Thank you, sir. So I'm taking this person's question as a last one because he actually has quite a number of questions, some of which you have answered during the course of your presentation, but I will just pick out the few ones that other people have also asked.
Okay.
So he's asking about the difference between a DevOps engineer and a clouds engineer. That's one of those few questions. Then I would also ask about the career path because other people have asked about the career path. I know you talked about it, but you might want to give them a recap. And okay, I think those are the 2 important questions that other people also asked.
Right. Okay. So let me quickly start from the last one here because I saw something here that says, "What master's or PhD program can a DevOps engineer, take?" So let me quickly say this to you that most DevOps jobs don't care about whether you have BSc or whether you have a PhD or whatever. I mean, except you want to go and start teaching in schools and universities. We're talking about the real world here where businesses are solving, very complex business problems. Okay. They don't need your PhD or BSc. What they need is your experience. End of story. Right. So if you have all the PhDs in the world, except you're going to take that to some university in Harvard to teach, do not waste your time trying to get a PhD or master's in that. Okay. You can, depending on what your goal is, if your goal is to take that degree or PhD and use it to, I don't know, I mean, there's different reasons people do these things. If you want to use it to maybe get some opportunity to maybe get a contract, or you want to use it for some kind of visa, maybe a talent visa, whatever, that's different. If we're talking about the career itself and working with organizations, okay, do not go waste 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, whatever in universities to take these programs. All right. What you need is to acquire experience. Once you have that, then you can start having other career goals. You can then bring maybe your master's or whatever into it. Maybe just like myself, you want to establish a business. Okay. And you want to have a very, very attractive profile because you're going to be speaking to investors or you're going to be speaking to some partners or whatever. You just have to look at what the goal is. All right. Okay, so we're done with that. Now let's talk about the difference between DevOps and engineer and cloud engineer. When this concept of DevOps started, there was nothing like DevOps engineer. DevOps itself is a practice, is a principle, is a set of principles that guides a particular practice. Okay, so if you say DevOps engineer, there's nothing like that, right? DevOps in itself is about being able to deliver software in a fast and speedy manner, okay, in a reliable manner, secure manner, using certain principles like continuous integration, continuous delivery, collaboration, communication, and bringing the dev teams and the ops teams, bringing them together. So it's just that practice. All right. So essentially, anyone working in the space of making that happen are now being considered as DevOps engineers. Okay. And making that happen is all about using certain tools that make that happen. So if you have skills working on those tools, naturally, people just start calling you DevOps engineer. And now employers are using it as a job title to say, okay, if you have skills in this, and that, you can help us to get the value that DevOps brings, then we'll call you a DevOps engineer. Now, switching gears to cloud engineer. I mean, that's very, very self-explanatory. Cloud is just, consider it as one of the tools that makes this whole DevOps concept to work. Okay, because in the cloud, you can automatically scale to almost infinity, right? Today, you start a business that is only serving 100 users. And then in the next few months, you're serving 1,000, 100,000, a million, 10 million users. It doesn't matter to what scale you go into. You have cloud infrastructure that allows you to scale, right? Gone are the days where you would need to have physical data centers, and that is not highly scalable. So with cloud brings new opportunities and new, it's like a paradigm shift. And because of that, anyone working in that space is considered a cloud engineer. So if you know about a particular cloud infrastructure or cloud offering like Amazon's Web Services or Azure or Oracle or Alibaba or any of those guys, and you're able to help organizations take their workload into the cloud, then obviously you're a cloud engineer. But does it mean that being a cloud engineer takes the products to the customers in a speedy manner? No. You're just a cloud engineer that is able to spin up resources in the cloud and just make it happen. But by the time you start combining that with CI/CD, for example, and you're able to bring in monitoring, remember that logo, that's DevOps logo, right? And you're beginning to do all those things, then you're expanding your abilities from just a cloud engineer to someone who is doing more of a DevOps type of work, all right? So, but the bottom line here is nowadays, people are just interchangeably using these different words around to mean exactly the same thing. And that's why you would say, oh, cloud DevOps engineer, platform engineer, DevOps engineer, all these different variations. In most cases, the people who are using it are referring to the same thing, but in reality, they may not actually mean, what the word itself is saying. And like I said before, DevSecOps is just security side of DevOps. So being able to automate the whole process of getting products to these customers and all that, but focusing specifically on security, automating identity management and encryption and all those sort of things is where DevSecOps is. And there's a whole lot of variations to this. There's, I think there's Dev Data Ops, and they're just coming up and combining different things, nowadays. But you get the gist. Okay. Any more questions?
I think that would be all for now.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are going to be able to take advantage of the discount that we provided. It's going to go away very soon. So if you want to launch a career, you don't have to wait anymore. Please make sure that you reach out to us, you click the link. I hope the link has been provided in the comment section. If not, please make the available now, and then people can get started on their journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I do hope that you had a great time. Apologies to, I mean, if in case your question wasn't read, apologies for that. You can always contact our support team at support@diary.io, send a mail, and we can always respond to whatever request you might have. This is a good time to jump on the offer that we have on our website right now. So if you're interested in starting your career, cybersecurity, DevOps, data analysis, now is a good time to start. So the link has been dropped in the comment section. Please click the link to get started. So thank you, everyone. You would get a recording of this webinar straight in your inboxes. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out, like I said. So thank you very much. Looking forward to see you in another webinar coming up soon. Thank you, everyone. Do enjoy your night and have a lovely night rest. And a big thank you to our speakers as well. Thank you very much for providing insights and answers to all our attendees today. So thank you, everyone. Do have a beautiful night rest. Bye-bye.